Some houses wear their history like a shroud. The ancient Ram Inn in the English village of Watton-under-Edge is one of them. For centuries, the land beneath it has soaked up stories: pagan burials, ritual sacrifice, wandering monks, and hunted witches. Locals whispered that the energy here never faded. It only changed form. The inn's first stones were laid in 1145, built for workers constructing St. Mary's Church. It stood through plagues and wars, serving as a resting place for priests, travelers, and sometimes fugitives desperate for sanctuary. But shadows lengthened as the centuries passed. There were rumors of bodies buried in shallow graves, of a woman condemned as a witch, of children's laughter heard long after dark. Most called these legends, until 1968, when a man named John Humphries arrived, determined to save the ancient building from decay. John Humphries had always admired old architecture, but nothing prepared him for his first night in the Ram. He spent the evening dragging furniture across the creaking floors, patching leaks, and brushing years of dust from the warped beams. Exhausted, John climbed the narrow staircase, shut his bedroom door, and tried to settle beneath threadbare covers. It was then that the cold crept in, not the ordinary chill of a drifty house, but a sudden, unnatural cold, as if the room itself exhaled a breath from the grave. As John drifted toward uneasy sleep, something seized his ankles. Icy, invisible fingers locked around him and yanked him from the bed. He crashed to the floor, heart pounding, eyes searching for a figure in the darkness. But he was alone. Only the wind and the groaning timbers answered. The house, it seemed, had been waiting for him. From that night onward, John was never alone. Each evening, as dusk settled over the crooked roof, the inn awoke. John would sense eyes upon him, cold and unseen, watching from shadowed corners. Footsteps echoed up the empty staircase. Sometimes, as he drifted between waking and sleep, a voice would whisper from just beside his ear. A voice neither male nor female, knowing and cold. John. He would bolt upright, gasping, only to find the room still and silent. Some nights, he was pinned to the mattress, unable to move, a crushing weight pressing on his chest while the air around him froze. Other nights, a language he couldn't understand drifted through the halls, half whispers, half threats. Once, desperate, John shouted into the darkness, "I live here now. Leave me be." The silence that followed was heavy, almost mocking. Of all the rooms in the ancient Ram Inn, the bishop's room was the most feared. John tried to ignore its reputation, even laughed at it at first, but his bravado faded after the first time he tried to sleep there. Repairing a leak one night, he felt the temperature drop until his breath hung in the air. A sudden, unseen force slammed into him, knocking him flat on his back. He scrambled up, dazed, and found the door had shut itself. At midnight, John was jolted awake by guttural chanting in Latin, echoing through the walls. Shadowy figures drifted just out of sight, their outlines indistinct. Robes, perhaps, or cloaks. He kept a Bible by the bedside, but some mornings found it tossed on the floor, always open to passages about demonic torment. Guests who braved the bishop's room rarely lasted till morning. Some fled in tears, babbling about shadows at the foot of the bed or icy hands on their throats. Other rooms bore their own grief and terror. The witch's room, named for a woman who supposedly hid from witch hunters, pulsed with sorrow. At night, John glimpsed her, A thin, pale woman sitting at the edge of the bed, hands folded, eyes empty. He would murmur into the emptiness, "I can't help you," but she never seemed to hear. John's daughter, Caroline, was not spared. She woke crying from dreams of children's laughter in the attic, tiny footsteps scampering across the floor. They found dolls and marbles in odd places, at the foot of the stairs, by the attic door. One night, John followed the sound of a child weeping up to the attic. As he entered, the door slammed behind him. The cold was sharp and bitter. John's breath came in shuddering clouds as he pleaded, "Let me out." Minutes later, the door opened by itself. There was nothing but silence, and the feeling that something unseen had brushed past him. As years passed, the haunting changed. It became something darker, more intimate. John would wake paralyzed, his heart hammering, while unseen hands pressed down on his chest and traced icy lines along his arms and throat. There were nights when a presence slipped into bed beside him, sometimes feminine, whispering unintelligible words, caressing his skin before suddenly clawing and biting. Other nights, the entity was heavy and hateful, a male force that crushed him beneath its weight. He would beg aloud, voice cracking, "Please, just stop." The only reply was a mocking laugh or a guttural growl. When morning came, John found bruises, scratches, even bite marks on his body, sheets twisted and torn, the mattress askew. He learned the names for it: incubus and succubus demons, said to torment the living in their sleep. No day passed without reminders of the inn's true nature. Sulfuric odors drifted through the halls, muddy paw prints from a black cat appeared, then vanished. Plates flew from shelves, doors slammed, candles gutted and went out in rooms where there was no breeze. John found every Bible in the house stacked in a neat pile in the bishop's room, pages fluttering to passages of exorcism and despair. Sometimes shadows darted up the stairs. A little girl in period clothes smiled and faded through a wall, or a tall, robed figure lingered at the hallway's end. On 2 occasions, fires broke out without warning, once in a wastebasket, once in a curtain, only to snuff themselves out, leaving behind the stench of burnt air. One day, while repairing the dining room, John and Caroline lifted a section of rotting floorboards and uncovered a shallow pit filled with bones, some unmistakably children's, mingled with rusted daggers. "We're not alone here, love," John whispered. "We never were." After that, the house erupted. Knocks at all hours, icy drafts, shadows everywhere, and the sense that ancient sorrow and rage had been awakened. John tried every defense. Crosses and Bibles above every door, salt at the windowsills, holy water splashed on the beds. He walked the halls at night, reciting prayers, clutching a Bible so tight his knuckles blanched. Priests and exorcists came and went. One vicar tried a blessing. Windows rattled, the floor shuddered, and he left, ashen, saying, "The evil here is too strong." Caroline grew up brave, but she too saw figures at her door, heard voices whispering her name. Word spread. The ram attracted the curious, the brave, and the foolish. Few lasted the night. Some ran from the bishop's room screaming, "It's crushing me!" Others woke, with icy hands on their throats or faces, saw shadows at the foot of the bed, or heard children's cries in empty rooms. The guest book, filled with trembling handwriting, a suffocating weight on my chest. I saw a shadow man. Will never return. My camera died, but it worked again outside. Even hardened skeptics and ghost hunters were left pale and shaken. John aged beneath that roof. He grew wary, sleep-deprived and thin, but could never bring himself to leave. He confided to a friend, "If I go, I think it'll follow me. Here, at least I know what I'm dealing with." Nights passed in watchful silence, a Bible clutched to his chest, waiting for morning. He pitied the lost souls, the witch, the children, even the mournful monk. But he knew there was something older, colder, and full of hate still prowling the house. After John passed away, his daughter Caroline kept the inn's doors open. She remains watchful, respectful and cautious, never staying alone after dark. Guests still come, chasing a thrill. Most leave with the certainty that the ancient Ram Inn is more than just old bricks and creaking beams. Some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed. If you ever find yourself beneath those slanted eaves as darkness falls, remember, sometimes the past refuses to rest. But before you go, tell us in the comments, would you dare spend a night at the ancient Ram Inn? Or have you ever had your own brush with the paranormal? If this story gave you chills, hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life hauntings and true horror tales every day. And if you want to help support the channel and hear even more stories about terrifying locations, share this video with a friend who loves a good scare. Thanks for watching. And whatever you do, don't forget to check under your bed tonight.